three. Hello, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? Thumbs up. Good. All right. So as you guys know, there've been some changes in the building code that took place recently. Before going into the details of that, this has been recorded for Flow Design Architects, generally for our own internal purposes. I'm Darwin Fortuna, one of the principals here at Flow, and I'm going to be giving you an overview of the changes from the 9th edition to the 10th edition. By no means will I cover all of the details because it is very robust. The changes are very robust, but I'll give you a little bit of what jumped out at me, like I said, when it comes to the code, and everybody guidance to how to move forward, how to implement it, how to understand it. I've divided this presentation into different segments of the changes, their implications to us, and the financial implications to us as architects as well. So I've been dividing it like that, okay? So that's it. I've already introduced myself. So some learning summary elements. So adoption. So one of the main items is the fact that we're no longer using the 2015. It's moving to 2021 building code as the base. There are some enhanced safety and environmental standards that have been changed. Some improved structural requirements and fire protection measures have been changed. And there are updates on the accessibility, and of course, energy conservation has changed. So a little bit of history. So the 9th edition was adopted in 2018, and it was based on the 2015 building code. So you could probably begin to see a little bit of a pattern. So they adopt at least 3 years prior, the code 3 years prior, and they get adopted every 6 years or so. So if you see that, 7 years or so, so 2018, 2024. So they have that pattern. That's how they established it. They use what is called the International Code Council set of codes. It's a bit deceiving because it's not an international code, it's a United States code, but they use the international term as the name. So it's International Code Council. It's a group of professionals and testers that create codes across the board for the United States. And every state, which typically is called jurisdiction, every jurisdiction decides to adopt it or not adopt it and amend it. Every state is very proud. So every state has their own building code, but it's based in some way, shape, or form on the International Code Council's codes. And there's one for a lot of the different disciplines that we deal with, like plumbing, electrical, fire protection, and such, and so forth and so on. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of pages. So we're going from a 99 little pages amendment to a 272 pages amendment. So very difficult for me to cover all of that right now. Couple other things too. The 2015 or 2018 9th edition is gonna be active until January 1st of 2025. So you can still use it. The code's still relevant, but I would suggest that we start changing them anyways, and we start putting the 10th edition, which is gonna begin. It already started June, July. That's the beginning. All right. But real, it's July 1st gonna be January 1st gonna be required to use it. And now I took the liberty of doing something real quick out of the presentation mode, and it was to pull up a little. Can you guys see the screen now? I just pulled up a piece of the code. Let me see if I can find it. But it was the history of the Massachusetts code from the beginning, like all of the different amendments. So let me see where it went. I'll try to be quick on that. No, not that. Yeah, I thought I had it open right here, but maybe not. But it was the history of all of the codes from the beginning. They had showed like when they first started doing all of the amendments one by one. So I had that open. Never mind. It probably is gonna pop in later. And this was the formal announcement that I just mentioned to you that January 1st will be the expiration of the 9th edition. So that's it. A lot of pages. So what has changed? Big comparison. So now we got to update all of our codes and standards to reflect the 10th edition. So the 10th edition is going to say 2021 for the building code and 2021 for the international existing building code. So basically just the year changes there. The mechanical code changed to 2021 as well. The energy code now is no longer used in 2015. It's actually used in 2021. That's the base code. There's other amendments and stretch codes that you have to take a look at by jurisdiction and by municipality, which is different than jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is state. Municipality is every town and city within the state. So, and then there are other ones that have changed. So the NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Agency or Association, they changed that. So those are the ones that we're going to be using. In their case, it's 2021 and 2019. Those are the ones that they're using. It's a different set of people that get involved in that. And making the code, there's a lot of people, like fire marshals get involved, engineers get involved, architects get involved. It's very robust. And it takes a long time. So things that have changed. So scope and application. So on the 10th edition, now they have some specific amendments, which is the ones that basically what we're talking about, to the 2021. And there is a comprehensive coverage of for new construction, reconstruction, alterations, and repairs. There is different items and processes within the building that are now being covered. There is a broader applicability of new standards, that's kind of spelled wrong, across all building types. So they're like different building types now are also being included, and you're going to see more of that in a little bit. So there is now a new provision that requires building permits for minor alterations such as re-roofing. Before, you didn't even need a permit for re-roofing. You could just go take the roof down and do a new roof. Now that's clearly said. It's always been required to have a permit, by the way, but it wasn't clearly stated on the 9th edition. Now it is on the 9th edition. So now additional permit applications and documentations are increasing the workload for architects, potentially leading to higher fees. So this is the financial implications of these things. So when we're looking at things, let's have it within our DNA to let clients know, you guys all play a role in that. Codes have changed. There's different requirements. You may have higher fees. You don't have to get into the specifics, but you're letting them know codes have changed. There's more requirements being imposed on us. So then there is an environmental and energy standards changes. So now we have requirements for energy conservation. There is a chapter 13 that's deleted and being replaced with chapter 33 of the IBC. So now you have to go to the chapter 33 of the IBC of the 2021 and not look at the chapter 13 that they had prior, right? So that's different. Specific provision for flood resistance construction. So now they know that climate change is happening and they're having specific provisions there. So there is an impact on that. Stricter environmental protection measures to comply with state and federal laws. Now there is an introduction of a mandatory air leakage test for new residential buildings to ensure energy efficiency. You guys have heard of the HERS test? That's now imposed as a requirement for residential buildings. Financial implications. So because of the requirements of the energy, now we have to do additional energy modeling and testing, increasing the scope of work, leading to higher architectural fees and requirements. So the compliance with flood resistant also, it requires much more site visits and requires consultations with specialists. So now there's additional consultants that may be required depending on the type of construction. Structural. So structural is being revised, and there are going to be new factors for load calculations and material requirements. So whenever you're going to do a structural study on something, now you got to go to that section on the 2021 building code and make sure that you are updating your software, updating the load requirements, the factors to meet these requirements. All right. I'm not teaching you how to navigate through the code. I'm just telling you what has changed. But to give you the gist of it, you have to look at the amendments, the code, the sections for the loads on the amendments by each town and municipality, and then go into the International Building Code and look for the most stringent of all of them and apply that one, okay? So now there's a mandatory geotechnical investigation. Now, it could be waived by the building authorities, the building officials. But now, whenever we're talking to clients, Marcos, early on, we got to say, hey, there is a new code requirement that may be imposed upon this project for a geotechnical engineer. So now, us as designers, we need to start creating that roster of geotechnical engineers that we're going to bring into the project. So there's more rigorous structural safety checks. Again, to ensure better resiliency. That's a word that you're going to hear a lot, resiliency, when it comes to climate change, okay? So now there's also a new seismic design category and map. So you got to look at that, because even though Massachusetts is not supposed to get, let's say, earthquakes, we've been having some seismic activity in Massachusetts. So there is some areas you have to look at the map, and there's seismic requirements for earthquakes or, you know, structural issues. So that's gonna increase the different risk categories across the state and across the country. Implications. Now we need additional structural analysis and coordination with engineers, resulting in higher design costs. So no longer can we all do this little calculation for all of these different projects. Now there is requirements for residential 1 and 2 family, requirements for multifamily. So we have to still play those roles. We at Flow are still looking more to continue to collaborate with structural engineers, but I still do want people to understand the basics of the structural. And you will see how our proposals are no longer including much of the structural. It's very light. Like I'm literally saying light budgetary cost analysis, and we're looking for consultants. That requires more site visits, which it requires more costs. Okay, we have to look at it this way. It's more work, it's more money. That's how it is. So the fire protection. So there is new standards for fire sprinkler systems, especially in residential buildings undergoing significant alterations. So they're doing that. Requirements for fire watches during construction. Now during construction, they have to create a fire safety management plan, and they have to have someone. It's a new role, by the way, a new job. So they need now on site, depending on the job type and cost and construction, someone to just always be checking for fire hazards, means of egress, implications, and changes during construction. Because during construction, the building has to still meet some code requirements. So enhanced fire safety protocols to protect occupants and structure. So a quick example, a new requirement for fire-resistant materials in exterior walls of residential buildings within high fire risk areas, okay? So there's areas that get fires that are more common, either for environmental conditions or for the location. So they're making those exterior walls be fire rated, okay? Financial implications, increased coordination with fire safety consultants, building code consultants, co-analysis consultants, and additional design work to integrate fire-resistant materials. We have to understand what those materials are. How do we show them in our assemblies? How do we draw them? So additional site inspections to ensure fire safety compliance is increasing project management fees. There's requirements now being imposed depending on the type of building, and I would like you to go into the amendments, and I'm gonna add them into the thing here, because there are different buildings that now require a site visit every year or every 2 years by a professional, registered design professional, to ensure compliance. So now we're gonna have to go to see our buildings after they've been built over time, depending on the type of building. So that's it's just a requirement now. We're gonna have to probably generate a proposal just for those visits, you know, an additional fee. Accessibility improvements. You guys know there's this Massachusetts State Building Code requirements, Massachusetts Architectural Access Board requirements, and then there is the national ADA requirement. So ours is an amendment, and we always go by the amendment, which is most stringent to our local jurisdiction. But just so you know, federal buildings do not necessarily need to comply with MAB. They comply with ADA. ADA is a federal law, all right? So there's specific chapters addressing accessibility for various building types, including residential and public buildings. So now we want to better accommodate individuals with disabilities and comply with the ADA. So now there is a revised requirement for accessible routes within public buildings, ensuring compliance with updated ADA standards. Again, financial implications, additional design time, more site visits. There's a new part in here that it's interesting that they added it. Tiny houses and innovative construction. So tiny houses were not nowhere in the code before, and then the tiny houses movement happened, and they had to start adding some requirements for those. So, and that's one part, but also innovative construction, which is looking more for things that you've never seen. Net zero home, energy plus homes, geotechnical, like geothermal homes that get heated with geothermal and ventilated in different ways, right? So now they have a section for innovative construction, and it could be all kinds of things. I'm talking on the residential end because that's what we do here mostly, housing and affordable housing. But so those are there, and that adoption for tiny houses includes means of egress and structural requirements for tiny houses. So it also includes comprehensive coverage, including new construction, reconstruction, alteration, and repair, and facilitates the growth of innovative and sustainable housing solutions. All of you that are very interested, and all of us here should be looking into those sustainable housing solutions within the code to make sure that we're above and beyond that. But first, we need to understand the baseline. Introduction of a specific egress window size requirements for loft areas in tiny houses. So tiny houses will have to meet certain egress window requirements. Again, more time in design, increases value, increases cost. Administrative changes. Administrative is in the application of building permits and how to proceed, how to submit our drawings, things like that. So now they have updated the administrative procedures and they're creating compliance checks that they have to do. But now they've done this by making it all online. So all jurisdictions now are being required to have online portals. So Lynn was one of the late adopters, has now a online portal for submissions of building permits. And they are including us architects and designers within the application process so that like whenever there's comments, we get them now instead of just the contractor. So that's something really good that's happening for all of us. So it's streamlining the approval process. Again, it takes time to learn the systems and processes, so it costs more to do that, even to apply for a permit. We have to let clients know things are going to take a little bit longer and it's going to cost a little bit more. And that's generally it, by the way. So very broad. Like, I didn't want to be too specific, but you know, the 10th edition introduces significant changes, improving safety, sustainability, and accessibility. And flow design is to stay updated to ensure compliance and leverage these changes for better project outcomes. I would like all of you to, you know, participate in trainings that are taking place within the BSA, Boston Society of Architects. That's public to all of us. You can sign up. You can get emails from the Boston Society of Architects and get updates there. Review ongoing projects and try to understand how they're compliant and what has changed. We need to update our client proposals to reflect the new standards, right? And you know, that's generally it. So you guys know what's new with running the content. There's all of these folders that we have. We've been organizing those folders. The state website is your place to go. The YouTube channels that we have, this video is going to be there. A new one that I would recommend people to go to is Code Red. Is a Massachusetts-based architect code consulting firm that focuses on building code and life safety. So I actually had their website popped up here. Let me see if I can share it so that you guys can benefit from it, take a look at it, understand it. But I had it open. I don't know where it went. But yeah, take it away. If anybody has any questions, you know, make sure to read this, apply it, research it, and help others. And let's move into questions.
I don't have any question, but I do want to say that I've studied some of the 2020 or 21 IBC codes. So if anybody needs help applying them with like the passive housing and some of the other stuff that you were talking about with the like efficient, like energy efficient stuff and bringing that into residential, I'll be more than happy to share what I have.
Beautiful. So one thing I would say, Natasha, if you can, is if you could make a little summary of those changes, things that jump out at you, like I did, like this, not necessarily like a presentation like this, but like things to look out for when we're doing a project, because you're doing it. And it requires a certain level of self-awareness of what you're doing, right? So Code Red, like I told you, has all of these trainings. So you don't have to just be watching my boring code changing videos. They have their own. And they have like, they shoot different updates every time there is a new update on the code. And they send an email. You can subscribe. I'm actually sharing that link right here in the chat so you can copy it. And they tell you what's changed. What's, you know, mass building code change, 10th edition. What's going on? What's going on with wood frame buildings, right? What's going on with Plumbing code, which is also changed, by the way. So what's the fire watch requirement that they put now in the new amendment, right? So elevator requirements in the 10th edition, all of this is the 10th editions. Very, very good. I know Nicole has expressed very strong interest in becoming or code person, to be honest. She wants to get trained and take some additional trainings to become like basically a co-consultant. So Nicole's gonna look into that. Nicole, let us know whatever cost associated with it. We're more than happy to have someone internally take that lead. It's something that not many people are interested in. So I'm very compelled and happy to hear that you're interested in that. Yeah. Anybody else? Any other questions?